Morning, guys. It's Rise and Grind.
Welcome back to another episode of Becoming a Practical Machinist. I'm Curtis Wolfinger of Mil-Spec Manufacturing, and in the last episode, you saw us squeezing the machine in here with no lube to the point where the riggers were even kind of, cautious about if it was going to fit or not. But you know us machinists, clearance is clearance.
All right, guys. So when you first walk into our new shop, this is what you walk into. This was originally supposed to be a completely framed-in room to make an office. But I think towards the end of after having the machine delivered, we realized we didn't want to have that office space anymore.
Yeah, the whole idea was going to be like having a desk and the chairs that we got from the other shop up here so we could, accept people to visit. But,
we're kind of getting away from the idea of having people come to the shop and visiting. I think when you're a small business, you don't have that like front of house to officially the reception to greet them. Like you walk straight into a shop like ours and it's noisy when you're running it for it. So when people come to visit you, you have to stop what you're doing and turn off the machines and hold a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
We love people. We love meeting vendors and having them on the property, but it's just not realistic at this point anymore.
No.
So we decided to mix that idea of walling it in to create an actual office. And we decided, hey, let's just keep it open so that when we bring more machines in here, we'll be able to sit at the desk and see if there's a light blinking or if something happens, you'll be able to hear it immediately.
Not only that, I liked how to put my desk here and I'm able to have all my tooling right here. So while I'm programming, I can go into my drawers and actually see what I have available, for tooling and be able to program off of what I have.
Oh, tell them about what I want to get custom made for up there.
That's right. You came up with this great idea. You wanted to put the tool holder shelves up here so I can put all my actual tool holders instead of them being out here like this. They'll be up there, up on the wall, and I'll be able to put my flags on them. So I'll have multiple tools, offsets, and everything already pre-staged.
Yep.
And up on the wall and look pretty.
Yep, it's going to be pretty awesome. So let's flip the camera around slowly and show you what we got going on this side of the shop. All right, y'all, I tweaked it just a little bit off camera, but this is what she looks like now for our shipping station. Looks very, very similar to our previous setup. So let me back up here. Shipping, receiving, and then over here is material storage and a bandsaw and everything. Let me show you guys what we've been working on the past couple of days. These guys are copper. It's a 18150, Curtis?
Yeah, if you've never machined these before, you have to machine them like stainless steel because they have the chromium and zirconium content under them.
Sure do come out pretty.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
So we'll be finishing up the last couple pieces of this order and then washing them and prepping them.
All right, I'm going to take a minute to talk with you before I get this machine rolling and get a little noisy in here. There was a little mishap that happened with this job. Was when we were quoting this job, it was quoted at a certain copper, all right, that had a much higher machinability on it. Okay, so we get this copper in, the customer drop ships the copper, right? And we go to start machining it, and it's burning through tools, it's not shipping right. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll go contact the material supplier on the actual box that, ship the material. So we call the supplier up and they say they don't even sell that copper that way. They only sell it in a wire. So if we were to order it at the size that, we were getting for the stock, it would have to be that C18150, which is a much higher hardness than, what we were supposed to be machining. So learn from my experience here. If you're getting material drop shipped, have a packing slip or, a material certification so you can see the actual, what exact material you're working with, and you'd be able to see the hardness and be able to adapt it and, maybe re-quote it before you start burning through tools. All right. But I'm going to go ahead and start getting this going and start making chips. the bubbles actually float into my fingers.
I feel like when we started Mil-Spec, the one thing that we couldn't find much information on to teach ourselves was how to ship products. And you might think it's not that big of a deal until you actually start getting items in here that are really heavy or really big or need to be on a pallet. And unfortunately, that's just kind of information that you can't really source on the internet how people are doing it. So, up until recently, most of our customers have been local. So it's been, wrap them up nicely, put them in a box, and just hand deliver them. We didn't have to worry about, does it need to be on a pallet? Does it need to, be worried about marring up the parts together in the box if it moves around in the back of delivery truck? So when we got this order in, copper bars are small, but they're extremely heavy. I reached out to a couple of my friends, Kenny, Patrick, Cameron, thank you guys. Always appreciate you helping us. And I said, what would you guys do for these parts? Because they are actually going to be shipped internationally. So what we decided on is getting a double-walled box, and I decided to take it a little further. I got tape that had, I think it's fiberglass inside of the tape. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, it's white and it has strips of fiberglass inside of it. It's called strapping tape. So I got that, and Cameron suggested that, put 3 lines of tape on this and then go across it too. So this is enforced. And then I took it a step further and I cut an extra piece of cardboard to put down inside as a base layer to stack on. Now, since I don't want these copper parts to move around and mar each other up, I bought foam packets. You guys saw me, I put it in, wrapped it up like a burrito, taped it, and then I went ahead. These are not all the same parts. This is, I think, Curtis, 6 different parts, if I remember correctly, because we're still waiting on a couple. So I labeled them individually, and I'm gonna start with the most on the bottom layer first. So let's start packing this, and I'll kind of explain the steps as we go through it. All right, I was able to fit 9 on here perfectly into the bottom of this box. And what I'm gonna do is I have another piece of cardboard, and you notice here I cut out, I don't know if you can see, slits right here. I did this on purpose so that when the person who is unpacking the box, they're not gonna be fighting to pull up the corners. They can put their fingers in these little slits and pop it out. But just a little extra stability in between layers. So I have 2 gaps on the edge of this next layer. Let me go ahead and take the phone and show you what I'm looking at, and what I'm going to do is make sure that those parts are not going to be moving around with that extra space gap. We have an extra space right here, and if I don't pack it with anything, this stuff's going to move around. We don't want that. So I have pieces of foam. I collect a lot of shipping material from various things that come to our house. And when I need it, I cut it down to size and use it in situations like that. So that's going to pop right in there. Same with this size. And I can probably cut a little sliver and put it right here too. But there you go. And then, just like the layer before it, I'm going to have another piece of cardboard. You see the little finger holes. Another layer, and then we'll move on to the next set of parts. Show it in there. That filled that spot pretty good. All right, there's that next layer. 2 different types of parts. Put in there best we could, and then use extra pieces of foam to keep everything nice and snug from sliding around. And as before, going to grab another piece of that cardboard with the notches in it to create another stable layer for the next amount of parts coming in.
I'm going to get this ready to ship out, but thank you guys so much for joining us on today's episode of Becoming a Practical Machinist. And make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss another episode. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.